All right, we're back in the new garage workshop, and I'm going to show you guys how I spent $1,000 to make my shop a lot warmer this winter and in the winters to come. So I'm going to tell you just a simple 3 things that I invested in to have a warmer workspace this winter. Okay, so the first thing I did when I arrived to my very cold garage workshop is try to figure out what gear I could get without spending a lot of money, but I could at least be functional out here when it was still really cold. So I went to a store called Baumgar's we have here in Iowa, maybe it's in the Midwest, and they sell stuff largely for like farmers and also just people who have to work outside all winter long. So if you're looking for some good gear that's actually going to function well in cold weather and it's built to work in, go to that type of store. So I bought a Polar King jacket for $60 on Black Friday actually. They had more expensive ones, they had cheaper ones as well, but the Polar King felt the most comfortable to me and I tried a bunch on and that's what I landed on. I bought some good gloves, even though we can't really do woodworking in gloves, just something to slip on in those in-between moments to warm your hands up can really help a lot. I have a stocking hat. Sometimes we just rush out to the workshop and we don't think like just putting something on your head can actually make you feel a lot warmer. You probably have a stocking hat lying around, I'm assuming. I have a million. And then the last thing that I got is kind of going back to those childhood sledding days, and I got like some thermal layers to wear underneath my clothes. You don't even really have to spend a lot of money. Just put on more layers and you'll be warmer. I don't know. Sometimes maybe people don't think of that. So I did spend $25 on some thermal layers that I can wear all winter long. So overall, I spent like around $100 to $150 on just some functional gear that I can wear on my body that will make a big difference, and it's something that I can comfortably work in as well. All right, I talked about this in my garage tour, but as you know, I did a lot of insulation work, and this definitely moved the needle a lot in terms of keeping the temperature up, obviously. So I spent $750 insulating this space, and I did all of the labor myself. So I'm gonna break it down into each of the components and how much I spent on each aspect. Now, insulation, it doesn't make your space warmer, but it will keep any heat inside of the space. It will just make it more efficient, but it's not going to just on its own warm up your space by some miracle. I will say it's made a huge difference in here, and my space almost rarely gets below freezing, even when the temperatures and the wind chills are like getting close to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so what I spend on insulation. First, I'm gonna say the garage doors. If you can't do the whole project, I would start with just the doors, because honestly, you know, I started with the ceiling and then I did the doors and then I did the wall, but I feel like the doors made the biggest difference in holding that warmer temperature in here. Like, I feel like after I did the garage doors, I think that it brought the temperature up about 20 degrees, even without doing any heating or anything in here. So it really, a lot of that warmth that you generate escapes through the garage doors. So starting with the garage doors, I spent $100 to insulate the garage doors, and I used this foil backed, I think mine is 3/4 inch foam. It's not perfect and it doesn't need to be perfect. You can get by on a budget and you can kind of cut pieces together, and I just use this aluminum tape just to be more efficient and not have to buy a bunch of extra sheets that would just be wasted. So I think I bought 4 sheets of this foam insulation and it covered the space almost perfectly with just a little bit left over. So then for the ceiling, I spent around a little over $300 to do the ceiling. That was the hardest part because the ceiling is obviously high and you'll need scaffolding to get up on the ceiling and do the insulation work. So keep that in mind, that you'll need something stable and you will need a helper for that. My dad helped me out to install that. And then for the walls, I spent $240 on the insulation for the walls. Now to do all of the paper-backed insulation, I did have to buy a staple gun, and I bought the Ryobi battery-operated one. It was $80. It doesn't come with a battery, but it worked so well, and I would highly recommend that if you're doing an insulation job. And then the other little tool that I had to buy was a Milwaukee insulation knife, which also helped a lot to cut the insulation. So a couple of tools that I included in that total $750 investment. And then in my last video, some people recommended putting sheetrock over the walls. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to put over the walls yet, but they did say that sheetrock helps it to hold even more heat inside. So I might consider that. I'm definitely going to wait until warmer weather arrives to figure out what I want to do over the walls. Okay, so the star of the show are these 2 wall-mounted infrared electric heaters that I have. These just plug into a regular plug-in, but I have two of them, so they're around $100 each. I got mine for like around $80 because I bought them on sale. One of them I've had for a year, which I had it in my basement shop, one little area of my basement shop. It worked very well. It's still working very well. The nice thing about these heaters is that they connect to Wi-Fi, so you obviously have to have a good Wi-Fi signal in your space, but you can connect to Wi-Fi and then you can control them through an app. And they have a thermostat, so you can set the temperature that you want it to be at. Now, I don't leave them running unattended because it's, you know, it's not safe with these kind of heaters. Definitely keep an eye on them, but you can control it through the app. The nice thing is that you can also see the temperature. Even when the heater's not on, you can always see on your phone what the temperature in your shop is. So that's really nice too. As far as how these heaters perform, so if it's like around the 30s, the low 30s, within 1 or 2 hours, with two of these heaters, I can get it up to about 60 degrees or close to 60 degrees, which for me, that's more than comfortable to work out here because I'm not spending day and night out here. I'm just coming, I'm getting the job done. I'm not just hanging out here. I'm working, so you're like creating your own body heat, moving around and stuff. So for me, this is perfectly fine. Future Katie checking in. It's freezing cold today. It's below 0 without the wind chill. And I'm in the shop and the heaters have taken 3 hours to get to, one's at 46, one's at 48. So it's pretty cold out here. So on a really cold day, they're definitely taking a lot longer to get up to temperature. So just an FYI. Now on the sides, they do have filters. They do get a little bit dusty, but the filters are removable and they're washable. So you'll definitely want to keep an eye on the dust and the filters and keep those clean. My shop isn't insanely dusty. I feel like what I'm using for dust collection does a pretty decent job, but definitely keep an eye on that, especially if you don't have a lot of dust collection going on. So I'm glad that I landed on this option and it's working well for me. I did research some other options. Again, I don't have 220, so I couldn't do that kind of anything that required that. And then I looked also into propane heaters and it seems like those work really well. But the thing that, from what I understand, you have to consider with propane heaters is that they can create a lot of condensation, which will create issues with like tools and rusting and stuff like that. So I just didn't want to deal with that. And also you have to have good ventilation if you're using a propane heater. And with combustibles, I don't know, it all just felt very scary to me. So these ones feel safe. I can keep them running when I'm out here, keep an eye on them, and it feels good for me. So those are the 3 things that I invested in to keep my shop a little warmer this winter and for years to come, as I mentioned. So in total, I spent about $1,000. But this is something that's going to definitely pay dividends for the years to come. The insulation, it's like, what a blessing to have that done and never have to worry about it again. So yeah, if you're able to invest, these things will make a big difference in making your space more comfortable to continue enjoying the woodworking all season long. And then the last thing I want to mention, just a friendly reminder, if your space gets really cold, you want to keep any sensitive things or supplies inside. And we spend a lot of money on our stains, our finishes, wood filler, all of these things. It's really better to keep them in a temperature controlled environment so that they don't go bad or get messed up and become unusable. And then the other thing is your batteries for your little like handheld tools and stuff like that. Those are also better kept inside because the cold temperatures, it's just not good for that type of battery as well. So anyways, thanks for tuning into this video and I'll see you in the next one.